Hello there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.wordpress.com. Thank you very much for joining me today for another card making tutorial. And the theme for today is monochromatic cards, okay? And I thought I'd just jazz this up a bit, whether you can see there that we've got the that sort of shiny element on the top, on the edge there. So we're going to show you how I achieved this look. So just using a single colour throughout, apart from the Whisper White. So we've got just jade here, so just jade cardstock, ribbon and ink. It's the same ink under here, but because we've embossed over the top it does look a little darker. Okay, and the stamp set we are featuring is Lovely You. If this is the first time you've visited my channel and you like this kind of content, or you're new to card making and want to learn some more, please do subscribe. And everything I use in my videos is actually linked in the description below, so please do check that out if there's anything you fancy purchasing. So we're going to change up the colourway and we're going to switch to Bumblebee. So this is another one of the 2020 in colours. So that card base is prepped and ready to go. If you are new, this is a half sheet of A4 cardstock that's been sliced lengthways at 4 1/8 of an inch and then scored at 5 7/8 of an inch. The panel we're working on is 3.5 by 5 1/4 inches high. A little mark on that for some reason, so we'll turn it over. Okay, so what we're going to do is some stamping over the edge of our card. We're going to use some scrap paper just like so, and we're going to do a little bit of stamp surgery with some post-it notes. So I'm just like using the grid paper to line this up. If you don't have grid paper, then you could use like A4 lined paper or something that helps you just to line up your post-it notes, okay? Or masking tape or something like that, something that's going to peel away without damaging your cardstock. So just eyeballing this really, and lining it up with one of those lines. It just so happens to fall at about 1 inch in, but I'm literally just lining it up, just making sure it's straight. I'm not particularly going for a set depth. I'll take another one and line that one up as well. So we're covering the majority of the card, so we'll end up, so the only portion that we can apply ink to is this portion here. Make sure that's nice and firmly pressed in place. And I'm going to switch up the image to a little flower, which is more in keeping with the colour. And I'm also going to introduce some second generation stamping as well. Okay, so we will begin. And I'm going to twist and turn the stamp as well. If you're stamping off the edge, you'll have to re-ink and dab off onto your grid paper, otherwise you end up with like this weird old stripe. I will demonstrate that in just a moment. Let's put this one here. So that's partially onto the mask, and look, you get this sort of weird old line. If you were to go onto your project, okay? So just bear that in mind if you are using this technique. So that one's in full, so we've inked that off. That's come off in one, so we're safe to put that one down. I think we need another full strength one there. And here. So we'll put that one there. And then anywhere where you feel like there might be a gap, so there's a bit of a void here, so let's put one in there. And there. And there. So just enough to cover that up and to make it look interesting. I'm just going to clean that stamp off. Okay, I'm just going to, while the ink pad is out, I'm going to quickly ink up my sentiment. Wildly grateful. And we will be die cutting that. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that to one side to dry completely before we die cut it. Wipe off that. And then the other element I wanted to introduce, which I almost forgot, was a bit of blending around the edges. So I've just dunked that brush into that ink pad and taken off most of the ink, and I'm just going to run down the edge of this mask. It will look like there's barely anything there, but you'll be surprised that, you know, when we take it off, how that colour will stand out, like a magic reveal. So barely anything on there, but it will make all the difference. Okay, so we're now finished with that ink pad. Now I'd recommend leaving that to dry absolutely thoroughly if you're going to do this at home. But I'm going to use one of these anti-static pads to help speed that process along. This will just remove any residue and sticky bits that might be on there. Unfortunately, Stampin' Up don't carry that anymore, but they are available in other stores. Okay, so now you're going to think I'm going completely crazy, because I'm now going to bring in some Versamark ink, and we're going to swipe and press along this area. Okay, so swipe across and then press the ink over that portion. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Just like that. Okay. And then we're going to cover this with embossing powder, so we can remove our mask now. Peel that away. So you can see that line now that's appeared. And I'm going to sprinkle this in clear embossing powder. I'm going to go over it a couple of times. Now, depending on what adhesive you use to put that mask in place, you may find that there's just a teensy bit of glue residue that picks up some of the powder. So if you use a really nice soft brush, you can just knock it off the edges slightly. Just go gentle, because you don't want to disturb the panel you want. But if you just go careful, mine happens to be nice and flat. It's like a wash brush for watercolour. So I'm just taking my time just to take away any of that excess powder that may have crept onto the front there. Just like so. Okay, so that's ready to heat set. I'm just going to tip away this powder before it goes everywhere and put that away. Now the heat tool does make quite a racket, so what I'll do is I will do that off camera. I'll just apply the heat to that edge strip and I'll be back once I've done that. Okay, so just bear with me a second, I'll be back. Okay, so here I am back with that heat set, and hopefully you can see that shining away in the camera, because that's ready to go. Our sentiment that we stamped, we're just going to die cut. with, this is one of the Stitched So Sweetly dies. Beautiful, so it's got a scalloped edge and some stitch detail, so that just adds some lovely details. So there we go, that's that. Quick as a flash, and that's ready to go. We're going to be adhering that with some dimensionals, but I'm just going to use the minis because it's going to have to go across some ribbon, so I just want that to sort of go, sort of straddle the ribbon, and it will adhere much better. Okay, so the ribbon is the in colour ribbon in the matching bumblebee colour. So we want enough of this to wrap around the card twice, and then another piece to tie our knot. So I do like to secure the ribbon around the back just with a teensy bit of adhesive just to keep it in place. So we'll stick that in down and we'll go, and I crisscrossed it as well. So that's secured there, and then we'll add adhesive to the rest of the panel to get that adhered to our card. Oops. This is a really great tape runner. I am putting quite a lot on, more so that I make sure that that ribbon gets really well sandwiched in between the stamped layer and the card base. So I'm just going to try and get that as straight as I can on that card base. That looks good. And if you run your bone folder over it, you've just got that. It will just help flatten that out. The heat from the embossing will warp your cardstock slightly, so if you just give it a press down, that will help with that as well. Okay, so as I say, the sentiment's going to straddle that ribbon, so we'll just take off those dimensionals like that. These little ones are a little more fiddly than the big ones, but they're okay. If anything, it's the static. Okay, there we go. Let's add that to there. So I've gone in a bit more with the ink on this one, so that's almost touching there, but still looks lovely. And then we'll thread our ribbon through and attempt to tie some kind of decent knot. Right over left, so left over right is supposedly the way to do it. You could do a bow if you want, if you're feeling brave. Okay, that looks alright. Great. And then just trim the ends so that they're even. And there we go. There's our bumblebee version. Okay, I'm not going to add any extra rhinestones or pearls to those. I'm just going to let them stand as they are. So I hope you like that little technique there for a monochromatic card. Okay, and like I say, if you've got any, if you wish to buy anything, please do check in that description, and I'm sure you'll find what you need in there. Thanks for joining me today. Take care everybody, stay safe, and I'll see you again real soon. Okay, bye.